Hey guys, it's Rhett from the 100 Acre Wood Highlands out here today. It's beautiful, beautiful weather, and we're going to give you an update on the progress of remodeling the old dairy barn. Super excited because we got it all cleaned out. We just started painting. We're ripping all the old shingles off, and right now I'm gathering up some cinder blocks from my cinder block pile because we're going to make a little bit of a raised bed area around the barn. And I got some mail order raspberries, and I got a couple of raspberries from the store the other day that I need to hurry up and get in the ground, so check it out. So when I initially bought the place, there was a whole lot of cinder blocks and railroad ties and really sheet metal, old farm implements. There was a bunch of kind of stuff, and so this has kind of become my, you know, what you call it, like a bone pile. This is my junk that, you know, I didn't really have an easy way to get rid of, but I thought maybe I can use some of it later. So we're gonna go through and salvage some of the best cinder blocks that we can get. I've been loading them up on the Ranger, and then we're gonna take them and build us a little bed to put our raspberries in around the barn. Projects like this really make the Ranger super handy. That way I'm not walking back and forth from the barn one at a time with these blocks, or using a wheelbarrow, or driving my truck back and forth. I can just throw them all on the bed of the Ranger and zip around to wherever we need to be. We really have got quite a bit of progress done on the barn. It may not look like it in this video, but if you haven't already seen part one, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. But there was all kinds of bushes and some trees. The trees were even interfering with like the power lines up here, and so we cut all that out, ripped as much of the roots as we can. I went through with some mortar cement and filled in some of the cracks in some of these old cinder blocks. And today we're using the cinder blocks to make us a little bit of a bed. I've got to get a level in here and raise that up, and then later maybe once we're able to go to the store a little bit easier, I'll get some pavers to go across the top and we'll mortar that down. But I did do a Tractor Supply curbside pickup for a bunch of peat moss and potting soil, and I really just can't leave those raspberries in those little pots anymore. It's getting hot during the day and they're starting to dry out, so I need to be able to at least put them in the ground for temporary, and we can come back in later and paint these and kind of finish them up. But this weekend the girls got started painting the barn, and we bought just a regular barn paint. It said red barn paint on the 5-gallon bucket anyways, at one of the, I can't remember if it was Home Depot or Lowe's, and so we grabbed that, thought it would be a good color. But you know, maybe it kind of looks red on the video, but it's really like a rusty brown burnt orange color, and so we weren't exactly happy with this color, so we ended up using that paint on our chicken brooder, and we'll just save it and use it around for some other projects, but we can finish painting this later. I'm using the tractor bucket to rip up all the old shingles that were on the roof, and we're going to throw those in the bucket, trying to collect up all of them and the nails, and we're going to use that to fill up the rest of this dumpster. And when I originally got this dumpster, I wasn't sure I was going to need the full-size dumpster, but just really from the contents of what was still in this barn, they've completely filled this thing up. I mean, I'm hoping I can fit all the rest of the shingles in it, and then I think they're gonna come pick that up, this dumpster up, in a couple days. So I'll give you a look at the inside of the barn. This front part here was where the old refrigerator with the super old chicken egg was at. There was like a couple of different workbenches in here. It's just a whole bunch of junk and dust, but still got a kind of a grapevine here in the way, but made a lot of progress. We've kind of salvaged a few of the shelves, a couple of the tools and things, got most of the dirt off the floor. I came in here with a power washer later and just kind of tried to blast out all the dirt and dust and cobwebs. And so it's come a long way. I mean, there's still stuff like that missing cinder block that I got to figure out a way to patch it. The glass in a couple of these windows is broken. Like, there's a big hole here. In fact, the other day I came in and there was a bird in here that had flew out this hole. So I'm gonna have to replace that. The power to this building isn't turned on. The power is wired to this building. There's a breaker box up here, but right now, I mean, I'd be terrified to turn this stuff on. I've got to probably remove all this old Romex and hire somebody to come out here and rewire it. But a couple of plugs and a couple of lights and this would be good. So we did break one thing. When we were trying to clean this out. This broken board up here, there was a big piece of like shag carpet across the top of this middle room in the barn. And it was big enough that I couldn't really drag it out by hand. So we wrapped a ratchet strap around it and yanked it out with the Ranger and broke one of those boards. So I wish I would have taken a video of that for you. So we come through this room, kind of dark and dusty in here. Here's the back part. Back part is where they used to milk the cows. We managed to save some 2x4s that we found in here, but got all the junk out, power washed some of these doors. Like this door and the door on the ground, I'll probably just repaint and use those. I think they'll work fine. And this half of the barn is where we're gonna put our actual chicken coop. So later on, we're gonna frame in this area, probably put some chicken wire or some hardware mesh and put a door on it, and they'll have this side of the room to be their indoor area, and we'll probably make a door going to the outside from where one of those window panes is. We've made a bunch of progress in here. I'm pretty happy with how it's moving along so far. The biggest worry I have is the roof, because I don't like getting up there and scraping off all those shingles. I'm just, you know, afraid, like, what if there's a soft spot underneath I can't see and I fall through or something like that. But once I get that replaced, I think it'll be pretty nice. Then I can work on enclosing the doors. We'll bring in some power, put our chicken brooder here. That way we've got a place for them to grow up, and then we'll be able to store some tools and different things up front. It'll be kind of a nice barn. So I'm just going to be using some peat moss and bags of potting mix to fill up some of the area in this raised bed, and we'll mix that together and then go get those plants. Some of them are bare root and some of them are in pots, And I'm not going to do the whole cinder block garden bed today, just a big enough area to put the raspberries in. So I'm going to use the peat moss because it kind of lightens the soil, aerates it, and we've got a lot of bad red clay. And so rather than finding dirt from somewhere else here around the property, I've got this and some of this good topsoil to add some kind of organic material into it, and I think that'll give our raspberries a better start than just planting them straight in this red dirt. I got two different varieties of raspberries to plant. This one just came from Lowe's, and it's a Willamette raspberry. And then these are Killarney raspberries, and I ordered them through one of the catalogs. I can't remember if it was Gurney's or Burpee's or one of those, but it comes wrapped in a plastic bag with a bunch of sawdust and sometimes newspaper and other things that are wet to keep the roots moist. But one of them has sprouted out already, but it doesn't look like anything's happening on the other four yet. So hopefully they will sprout sometime soon too. I'm eventually going to need a lot more dirt to fill in all this raised bed, but this will at least let me get the plants out of the pots and off the back porch and into the ground where they can start to grow a little bit better. And hopefully they'll make it. I don't know, I've never grown raspberries before, but we have a lot of wild blackberries, and I've made some videos on making wild blackberry jam. I'll leave a link to that down in the description box below. But you can't get rid of blackberries around here. I mow them over with the brush hog and they just come back worse. And so if these raspberries grow anything like blackberries, then hopefully we'll have a whole lot of them. All right, let's take a look at how these bare root raspberries come. So they're all kind of taped up in some thin plastic. So I've read with bare root plants you should soak them in water sometimes before you plant them, but I'm going to be coming through and watering these once I get them in the dirt here in just a minute. So I'm going to skip that part, and plus they still feel pretty damp inside of here, so it's just kind of jumbled up mess of roots right now. And this front flower bed is probably not going to be their permanent home. I'm just going to get them out of this bag and planted for the next day or two while I finish getting all the dirt and cinder blocks spread around the barn, and then we'll probably move them around to the corner. So man, it's definitely twisted up here. Okay. Oh, that one's got a little bud down here at the bottom. And one of the things about bare root plants is typically most plants don't like to be buried any deeper than they're already growing. So when we dig a hole, we're only going to bury it up to where it had sprouted roots before. So maybe these look like good signs that they might come alive, but just gonna go through and plant these in between these potted raspberries for the next few days, and then we'll move them to a more permanent place in a day or two. I think they look good here in front of the barn. And these ones that are bare root, at least temporarily, I think will work fine right here. I'm gonna go get the water hose, water these in, and then maybe I'll climb up on the roof and keep on scraping off shingles. All right, so working on getting some of the shingles ripped off the roof today. I got almost all of one side, and I've only got my dumpster left for another day or two, so working on getting all of this out, using the tractor bucket to collect all the shingles as I tear it off. And then after we've got it all off, I'll go get some sheet metal and put it all where the shingles used to be and replace one piece of plywood down at the very end, and we'll be getting a little bit closer to having the barn restored. One of the nice things about working on the roof is got a pretty good view of the cows off in the field. Well guys, thanks for watching. I really enjoy working on this barn and sharing the experiences with raising the Scottish Highland cattle and in the garden and now raising baby chickens. And so I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to our channel. And if you have questions or comments or anything like that, please leave them down in the comment box below, or you can find me on Facebook by searching 100 Acre Wood Highlands. Thanks for watching guys, we'll see you on the next video.